Welcome to the second part of our demo series. In the first part, I showed how we built and tested a complete login and sign up application using Spring Boot, REST API, and MySQL on localhost, means within our own computer PCs itself. So today we are going to take it one step further. We'll be deploying the same application on an AWS EC2 instance. So by configuring a live MySQL database and test it in a real world hosted environment, means it's like how our companies and all the MNCs IT companies will be hosting the servers and deploying the applications in their live servers, production servers, UAT servers, or any of the SIT or QA, whatever we call, based upon the environment, will deploy in one of the environment which is freely given by AWS EC2 instance, and will do the testing of the exact application which we performed in the previous video. Okay, so once you log into the AWS EC2 AWS account, right, there will be a console in that, and in that console if you search for EC2 instance, then you will get this bunch of instances for you. So here you can, by the creating of launch instances, right, you can able to create a new instance for you. When you create a new instance for you, it will be in the any it will be in this order. You can name whatever name you want, and you have to select it, and you have to change the instance state to start instance, because I've already started my instance, so it's already in the running state. So if you are trying for a new one, right, I'll record another video. So if you trying for a new one, you have to start it manually. So since I've already started it, it's already been running it. Okay, so if you click in this instance ID, so instance is nothing but creating our runtime environment for us to develop and deploy our test applications in a production based. It's like a similar to a production based VM means virtual machine. So with that we'll be able to deploying all our applications, and we can test it in as we will be testing in our production or UAT environments. Okay, so this is my instance ID, and you can able to see this is my public IP address. So instead of local host in all our code, we'll be using this local IP address. So where I will be configuring this IP address, right? In our, this is my application which we saw in the last video. In the application.properties, here we can specify the application.properties based upon the environment wise. For example, dev environment, UAT environment, QA environment, production environment, and um, normal many SIT environments like that. So here, if you see the data says the data source URL, and for the JDBC, because we need to install the MySQL setup. So in this yeah, local host, previously there was local host. Now I replaced it with the instance IP which I got here. Okay, and the default port for MySQL is 3306. So let it be all those things. So this is the only change I done here. So now what I'll do, we'll first start our application, and I'll open the MobaXterm because it will be useful for us to load all the files from the local, and we'll deploy it in our AWS EC2 instance dev environment, and we'll copy that jar file, and we'll run it in our AWS EC2 instance VM, and we'll map it to our DB also MySQL, and we'll perform the same application, and we'll check whether we can able to get access the website, and we can able to enter our email ID and password, and it throws us login or sign up or whatever things that we already configured and developed, right. We'll check whether that functionality has been working properly in our when we deploy our applications in the AWS EC2 instance. So once I connected to my EC2 instance, you can able to see I have connected through SSH client, and this .m is needed for the security purpose, and this is my public IP. It's recently changed my instance, so that my public IP ID is also changed now. Okay, so now what we will do, will after logging in, we need to install the necessary packages and all. So for that we need to use some of the commands, like first we need to install the Java JDK. So first I already installed, so I'll just show you what is Java version I am using here. You can able to see I'm using OpenJDK 21. Okay, this is my Java version. And if you want the um, commands to be installed for the Java JDK version of this, I'll share you in the comment section. And also we need to install MySQL this thing, because in our local system we'll be installing the MySQL in our local host itself, so we'll be directly using it. But since we are using AWS EC2 instance, right? So we need to download the Java JDK version and also the MySQL version in this runtime environment, in this run VM. So we need all those things. So I'll also we need to also install MySQL for these things. Then after installing this, we'll connect to our EC2 instance, and first we will run our application. First we'll run our Java application here. We'll copy that jar file, because we'll be, right, all the Spring Boot applications will be exported as a .jar file, and it will be pasted inside whatever environment that we are pasting. And based upon our commands we will run the application, and we'll execute that application whether it's working properly in public browser or not, with specifying the public IP of that entire EC2 instance server, not our local host and all. Okay, we'll get to it one by one. So as we can see, this is the IP that we got logged in, right? So in dot well, let me open the AWS EC2 instance for your, yeah, this is the IP. So we need to change that in our application.property file. So let me change it. Yes. After changing this, what I'll do, I'll first clean the project. Now I'll close to clear all this content here, and let me run this command here, because we need to first export our application as a .jar file. So for that, clean package. That's it. So this will clean the entire application, and it will give us a package of .jar file. We'll wait for it. So with the application properties, we need to make sure the DB details are pointing to our new MySQL instance. So in order to get the DML and DDL commands, when we are using in our new MySQL instance, we need to have a proper handed over and proper connection to our uh, whatever dev environment that we are using. So it's running, it's performing some internal test in here. Let it run. Okay, the application is running, and it's running on port number 4242. So to access it publicly, we need to allow 4242 in our EC2 security group. So it's already been done. If I want to check, right, I'll just give in here. So for all the EC2 instance, if you scroll down, there will be another tab like called security tab. In the security tab, you need to open to the security group. Here you can see I have enabled the port 4242 for custom TCP, custom transfer control. I have enabled this. For default HTTP, the type will be 2880. And for default SSH, the port range will be 22. For MySQL and Aurora, its a default port range is 3306. So whenever we are trying to access, we are trying to send any request through this kind of ports, right? We need to allow the connections based upon if incoming request has these particular port ranges. That is why we have already configured here. So it's for like security layer. Yeah. Our application has been built successfully. So now we'll generate this jar file, right? We'll take this jar file and we'll copy it and paste it in our MobaXterm. Okay. So usually MobaXterm, it's nothing but it's a tool which gives us a graphical interface for SSH and SFTP. People will be using putty also just to access all the behind which are abstracted servers that we need to access. So it makes our work easier because we don't need to switch between multiple tools. If you don't use these things, right, we need to use multiple tools to log in, and we multiple tools to connect to one server to another server, all these things and all, we need to connect to multiple things. So instead of it, we are just directly using it. What I'll do, I'll open a new tab, because you can able to see, right, this is the command that we are using. So I think based on our new instance IP, we need to change the port number and IP for it. So let me open it, our new instance. See, this is our new IP, right? Yeah, 13 point is our new IP. So we'll change that IP here. So whenever your application and all those things will be same, but your instance ID and IP will be changing each and every time when you're connecting to the AWS EC2 instance. When you're using the free account, okay. So you need to modify your code based upon that each time. I'm again changing it here. What I'll do, okay, this is my AWS EC2 instance. So this step already we connected. Command to connect EC2 instance is already we performed, and the location of the jar file. So for that, first we need to copy the jar file into the MobaXterm first. Okay. So how we will do? We'll just take this. Where does the jar file has been located? It's located in this part, in the targeted part. Okay. Targeted part first we'll open. I've just opened a new tab in the MobaXterm and I'm doing this. So here this slash will not work. Instead of it, you need to use the opposite slash. Let me change it one by one. Yes, 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 and yes. Wait, sorry, I need to forget it. Need to cd and we need to do cd. Let me change it again. I just replaced the existing command, right? That's the problem. There, workspace, documents, and yeah. Now we are into this folder. Now I'll do ls. Yes, we can able to see this is our jar file, right? You can in Spring Boot you can see this is our jar file. So first what we need to do, we need copy this updated jar file to our local AWS EC2 instance. Now this jar file is present in our local system. Okay. Now we need to get the jar file inside this EC2 instance, because right, if you are doing a production deployment, if you are doing an UAT deployment, whatever code that you have made in your source code, whatever code that you have made in your local laptop, you need to bring it means you need to move that code into your production server. And there are some many tools, right? For example, what we can say, Jenkins and drones and all. It will directly place our whatever requested files inside the targeted servers. So now our targeted server is this EC2 instance, and the source server is our local machine. So for that, the command that we use here is scp -I. See, this is our local folder. We are passing the PIM file, and this is our local application jar file. And this is our target Ubuntu server. I'll just copy it, and I'll be going here, and I'll be pasting here. The file copy will take place in, yeah, you can able to see, right, the file copy is taken process. It's in 2%, so we need to wait until it becomes the 100% so that we can confirm that our jar file, that is our application, has been moved into the AWS EC2 instance. Yeah, good, it has moved, it seems. So it has been moved. Now if you come here, this is our AWS EC2 instance, right? If you put ls, right, we can able to see, yeah, perfect, this is our jar file. So how we moved it? We moved it to an SCP. What are all the SCP commands holds? It has a source server, and it has what is the jar file, that what is the application that we need to move, it also has the destination server. Okay. After that, we have already moved the application. Now, what things we are need to pending? We need to start the application. Like how we start our Spring Boot application. Right click, run as, Maven build, Spring. What commands will put? Clean package Spring Boot run. Right. This we will update in our local system. If we click run, the application will be running in the local system. But since we are using the MobaXterm and we are using the AWS EC2 instance, we need to manually update the application. So for that, we need to use this command, no hub command. So this command is used to run our application. Now we'll just walk through the previous command. Okay, the recipe. So this command copies our .jar file from our local machine to the EC2 instance using the SSH key. Okay, this slash hyphen I specifies the identify file, whatever this perm dot key, right? This it will identify. And this target login jar, right? This is our target jar file which we need to move. And this Ubuntu, this something IP and all we specify, right? This is our EC2 server and its IP service, IP addresses. And the final path is where the file will be placed in the EC2 service. Okay. Now for the running the application, we are using this command, no hub command. So this no hub command, what it will do, it starts the Spring Boot app using the jar file that we have uploaded, and we'll see the Spring Boot logs will be initializing and the application creating tables and all the Stormcat inbuilt server will be running on the port 424. Okay, so this is the abbreviation for it. So we'll copy this command, no hub command. We'll go to MobaXterm and we'll paste here. So you can see this will run our whatever jar file name we gave here, it is the application name it will run, and it will save all the logs in task on login app.log. Okay, that's the command. Yes, application has been started. It's running. Yeah, application has been started and all the logs will be written in this task one login app.log. Now what we'll do, so what is the activity now? The application has been started. Now we need to see whether our will load our website. Okay, means we'll load our UI page. So how it will be HTTP, not yes, and what is the IP that we use? We instead of local host, we need to use the IP specified here. We'll check whether first we'll check whether it works or not. Since all around of IP will be 424. Yes, success. Super. We got our login page. So now we are running our login page not in our local host or local system. We are running in our login page in the uh, AWS EC2 instance. Production, if for example, if you are doing, if you want to deploy your application in the production server, that production server will have its own IP and it will have its own port number. So when you want to run your application or you want to check whether your application is working properly, you will be putting that application's URL and port number in a browser, right? Same stuff we have done here, but now we are not using the local host. We are using the IP which we deployed our EC2 instance. So means our deployment activities has been done properly and it's been loaded properly. Okay, now we need to do the testing part. But before doing the testing part in the MobaXterm itself, what we'll do, we'll first log into the MySQL thing. Okay, so for the SQL login to the MySQL, first you need to use this for the SQL connector, sudo MySQL -u root -p. Just using it, it will ask for the password, whatever password you configured for your MySQL while creating the data account. You just give it here. I'll just give my password here. Yes, super. I connected to my MySQL. So this is my MySQL query that I'm getting. So what I'll do, I'll first list all the databases which are present here. So what I'll do, I'll go here, I'll type show databases. So these are our databases. You can see that test one is the database where we deployed all our tables and we tried one sample test hitting and it was working. So test one, we need to use that database now. So use test one. So the default database has been changed. Now we'll see what are all the tables that are present inside here. Show tables. Yes, users. This is our user. This is our table that we need to use. So we have already logged into the user. Now we'll see what are all the details present inside that user tables. We're using select command. Select star from users. Yeah, you remember, right? Yesterday, last time we inserted one value through that sign in page, and that value has been displayed here. So what we'll do, we'll try to log in with a new ID now. Okay, so I'll just log in with new user 001 at gmail.com, and password I'll just put new user. That's it. It's a sign up. I'll enable it, and the mobile number will be what I'll specify. Mobile number I'll specify as one um, 987 9876. Okay, and the gender will be male, and the location will be new user. Signing it up. We'll see, is there any other problem? Mhm. Mm. So let's have a quick recap today. What we had, we took a Spring Boot login and sign up application. Then we set up and configured an AWS EC2 instance with MobaXterm. We installed all necessary packages like Java and MySQL to run in our AWS EC2 system. We created the MySQL database and user. We deployed our Spring Boot jar file on EC2. We made it accessible on the internet and tested the API endpoints. So essentially, we converted a local project into a live server hosted application that can be accessed from anywhere in the world. So why does this matter? Because this is exactly how real world applications are deployed in cloud environments. So today's session was a miniature version of production deployment. What we did uh, here is a simplified but realistic simulation of how modern backend systems are hosted in the cloud. So the confidence you gain from doing this step by step will help you in real-time client projects or team environments. So if there's one key learning you can take away from this session is that you don't need to intimidated by cloud servers or deployment anymore. So all those time has been changed now based upon the AI. So with the right step-by-step approach, any Spring Boot application can be moved to production consistently. So what went well? So the clear thing, all thing we'll able to do that. So we can include setting up HTTPs with SSL certificate. So we can add environment variable based configuration for better security. So these can be added as improved for the next step. So we can deploy a front-end React app and connected it live with this backend. So for real-time future advancements, and we can add Docker to containerize this app for scalable deployment. And finally, to wrap it up, this was not just a deployment demo, it was a real world cloud skill in action. So it showed how we can build, secure, and host backend applications in a real cloud environment using MobaXterm, EC2, and MySQL. So this knowledge is crucial for any developer aiming for full stack proficiency or cloud readiness. So all these things were a useful one. So now we'll just have some small quick questionnaires. So why we use AWS EC2 for Spring Boot deployment? Because it allows us to run our Spring Boot app jar just like we run it on our local host. So we get complete control over the environment, means OS, software, firewall settings anytime we can change and we can modify. And it's almost also cost effective, and especially using free tier for learning and testing purposes. That's what we done. So it bridges a gap between local development and real world deployment. Then why we used MobaXterm instead of command line? So MobaXterm is a powerful SSH client that gives you a graphical SFTP file browser on the left side to the upload the files. So a rich terminal experience on the right to execute commands. So it's better than plain putty or Windows CMD because it has multi-tab. You can able to see, right? We logged into multi-tab. It has inbuilt file transfer support. We move our files from local to AWS EC2 instance server, and it's better formatting and highlighting. So it basically simplifies interacting with remote servers without switching the tools. Then why we use MySQL? So MySQL we use because it's more how can we say, it's more interrelated and friendly to the Spring Boot and Spring JPA. So this shows that how Spring Boot plus MySQL work together in a real production system. Okay, then finally to wrap it up, we need to have some. We may also face some issues in between, right? Because I didn't get that proper established connection, so that's why I added the video of the which I made it work in the offline, and which means I paused the video and I made it work in the offline, and I just attached it. So what it means if any security group rules, if ports are not open and app won't be accessible, okay, then MySQL remote access must configure user privileges carefully. We need to carefully use the user privileges, and network or firewall issues also may happen. So need to allow traffic from anywhere, so in the development stage. And server restart, if EC2 is stopped, jar file won't run on the boot unless automated. So understanding these real world issues helps us to become deployment ready. Okay, then we can just take all these contents as our takeaway, and we can just go with this thing. So this knowledge is crucial for any developer aiming for full stack proficiency or cloud readiness on Spring Boot development and deploying of any kind of application in AWS EC2 instance. So thank you all for your time and attention. I hope this walkthrough gave you a practical approach to deploying Spring Boot apps on AWS EC2. um, then if you have any questions, just post it on the comment section. Yeah.